Can you see my presentation? Hello?
Yes, we can. In Grenada.
Okay. All right. I'm Natalie Holness. I'm in Jamaica presently, and I'm the person who has been managing the Zoom from my location all this time. So I've been listening to your conversations, and I think why I see some persons getting up like they're leaving. Can you see me? All right. So for want of a good solution for I've been listening to your conversation and you're saying that sometimes technology can be a blessing and a curse, but it's also dependent on how you use it and if you use it responsibly. For me, and for you, probably Zoom can be one of those avenues that you can, connect with each other or others to, interact remotely, especially over great distance at a, inexpensive cost. So if you're at home, you're injured, you can't go out, you need to talk to somebody, you need to host a meeting. The platform is there. You have the free and the paid version, but the free version gives you a whole heap of access to where, you can do small community games night or something interesting, you know, talk to somebody you haven't seen in years, you know. So it might be a solution for you. So we're going to go through today. Hopefully, we can do, learn and do at the same time, which is my hope. So you can probably set up an account, collect your fellow participants' email addresses, and keep in contact after the event. How does that sound? I'm going to take that as you're all excited. All right, so what is Zoom? Zoom is a video. I'm going to close my camera because I'll be doing several things at the same time, and I want to ask you questions and get you to participate in at least logging in and opening an account and testing it and go through the whole process if time permits. So is anybody excited about, opening their first Zoom account? I don't see any hands going up, so I'm going to take that as a no for now until we go through it a little further. So Zoom is a video conferencing platform and it is used for meetings and collaboration. Um, you can access it via your laptop, your desktop, or your mobile device. So you're not limited to any one device. Um, any tablet can be used as well. So you have the free version and the paid version. The free version offers you up to 40 minutes for any time online. Um, the paid is unlimited. For the free, you have up to 100 persons that you can connect to at any one time. Um, Admin controls for the free is basic. Branding isn't accessible, but if you're using it just for, talking to your friends, family, it works. They can check in on you. You can schedule a meeting. You can have movie night. You can have games night, and you can all do it remotely. Um, there's no cloud storage for the free. Streaming is limited, which is what I say you can do. You can share and do movie night with the streaming. And support is standard for the paid version, which most organizations use. and probably some small NGOs, because it comes in handy when you want to collaborate um, with other professionals. You can, it depends on how the levels you want, but the services goes from like $99 to however you want to expand the capabilities. So you can pay for add-ons as you go along. So for the paid version, it's 100 and it's expandable to 1,000 person for any one event. There's an advanced user management and reporting, which means that if you're hosting meetings, it has an AI built in, and it can automatically generate reports and summaries for you. So it for me at the office, it comes in real handy when persons are hosting meetings, and it generates an AI summary, and we can just share those as soon as the event is over with our stakeholders and beneficiaries. It also, the paid version has the webinar capability. So there's two sides to it. You have the meeting, which is what we're in now, where anybody can raise their hand, ask a question, and interact with each other. The webinar version, or the webinar option, you would have to, you limit how persons interact on the platform. So you can allow like a few persons to be host or co-host or presenters, and then everybody else would be on the other side, which you would manage how they respond to you, and not everybody can talk at the same time. So you also have cloud storage, because for each time you host an event or have a meeting, you can record it, and it's stored in the cloud storage for a prolonged period of time, depending on how much storage you have. You can limit for up to 3 to 6 months for the storage to hold the video until you know you download it. And I'll tell you how we process it, or how I process it here, to store it off-site, outside of the storage, for free. All right. For the streaming, you can live stream on any platform. So I'll show you or tell you how to do that, but that's a little bit more advanced, but I'll tell you anyway. And the support is your priority, as long as you pay them some money. You know how that goes. All right. So for everybody, anybody who wants to do this now, you can go ahead. I'll wait for you. You can ask me any question you want. You can break me in between my presentation and ask a question. Just indicate and somebody will come to you. So when you're creating an account now, you go to zoom.us, or you open any browser on any device and type in search Zoom. And the first option that comes on is the one that is the correct one. I don't see anybody moving and I can see you. All right. If you have any question, ask. You click sign up, and then you'll go through the process and verify your email address. So it's going to ask you to put in an address, and it's going to ask you again, is this the correct address? So it will ask you to send it twice, and then it will send an email to your address and ask you to verify. You remember that two-step authentication that you just went through? some sign-up process have it built in to ensure that you're an actual human trying to get an account. Any questions? No. All right. So after you sign up, you'll be instructed to download the app onto your device. There's another way to do it. You can literally, for your mobile phone, you can literally go to the App Store and download the app and then create the account. So you're not limited to one way or the other. All right, then you launch the application and then you sign in. Any questions? Guys, I really want you to ask me questions if you don't understand. Okay? All right. Let's see if I skip something. No. All right. So when the application is launched and you want to test it out, you can, get one of your friends' email addresses and you're going to set up a meeting. So you're going to put in the topic you want to discuss. You're going to put the date, and then it automatically generates a meeting ID, right? And it gives you the option to video on or off, audio, calendar. So when you get when you're setting up the meeting, you can indicate how you want it to register in your calendar. So you can put Google Calendar or other calendars. So when you send the invitation and the person accepts, it automatically populates in the calendar. Do you want me to show you an example? You can just put your hands up. I can see you. No. Okay. All right, so you click schedule, you set the date and time, and then you send the invite. So you would just email the person the invitation, the link, and they will accept it, and then it's already scheduled. So after you start your meeting now, you click. So when you're in the app, because there's two ways to schedule a meeting. You can do it from the web and you can do it from the app. This is the app view. So it's simplified, so you can click the plus and it says click new meeting, enable video, and invite participants. So if you're at any time, if you want to have like an emergency meeting or you're feeling the mood to talk to somebody and you have the email address, you just call them and say, although your phone does the same thing, which is awesome. You literally can just create the meeting, send them the invite, and open the application and start your meeting. Okay, so if somebody invites you, you already have the app loaded on your phone or your device. You can, when you get the email, you'll get a code, and you can just type in the code or copy it and paste it and write your name and enter the meeting. So for instance, if I had a meeting already set up and I forgot to invite Arita, and I just copy the code and send it to her, she can just put the code in, write her name, and accept, as long as she already have the application loaded on her device. Any questions? No. So when you're entering the meeting, you click join, enter using the meeting ID, and it shows you to join with audio or video. But what I recommend before you go in, into the meeting, you close your audio. It will give you the option. So you put the X on the audio and the X on the video. Then you enter the meeting. And when you go in, you test if they're working before the meeting starts. Because sometimes persons enter the meeting and forget that their audio or video is on, and then they say inappropriate things at inappropriate time and persons are hearing them. Okay? Okay, so for the Zoom controls, you have mute and unmute. You have start and stop video. I'm currently recording now, so I can literally stop it if I want. You can share your screen, which is what I'm doing currently. You can type in the chat. There's a chat feature included in the app, and you can see all the participants. When I'm finished with the presentation, I'm going to show you the view of everybody that I'm seeing right now, what it looks like, okay? All right, so you have Zoom gallery view. So the Zoom gallery view is like the back end of what the application looks like, and you can click through the different options of what, how you want to see the application. So what is gallery view? Display multiple participants in a grid layout on one screen, allows you to see everyone in the meeting at once. Key features. You can view up to 49 participants on per screen, depending on the device. Automatically highlights active speakers. Scroll through multiple pages of the meeting if it's large. Benefits, encourages engagement and connection in meetings. Great for team discussions, classes, and group collaboration. Makes it easier to read reactions and nonverbal cues. That's why I keep saying I can see you guys. All right, customization option. You can rearrange the participants in order, drag and drop, hide non-video participants if needed, adjust display settings for optimal viewing. I'm going to show you all of this in a second. Okay, so when you're online and you're in your meeting settings, there's some things that you need to remember always. When you're entering a meeting, ensure that your mic and your video is off. When you enter the meeting, depending on if you're participating, you're asked to speak, then you enable the mic and the video. So be on time, join meetings a few minutes early, avoid disrupting the session when it starts. Mute when not speaking. And this is key to remember. Always look if your mic is muted and if your video is on or off. Reduce background noise. Unmute only when contributing. Use video professionally. Dress appropriately. Ensure good lighting and clean background. And there are some options in the back end where you can hide your background. So you can have like an image like what you see us using. It's a generated image that we put up in the background, and it isolates you, so you are in the forefront and nobody sees what's going on behind you. I'll disable mine in a minute when I finish. Limit distractions, avoid multitasking during meetings. Stay focused and engaged. Use the chat reactions. Ask questions without interrupting. Use reactions to participate respectfully. Speak clearly and respectfully. Avoid interrupting others. Allow anyone a chance to speak. Test your tech. This is especially important from a tech perspective. before any meeting, ensure that your machine runs whatever update it needs to run. And you need to check because the new Windows platform literally forces you to shut down your machine without your knowledge if you take too long to update it. So before any meeting, run any application updates or software updates. Allow everyone a chance to speak, test your tech, check audio, mic, and internet beforehand to prevent delays and technical disruptions. Based on my experience, this is one of the issues that most people have. They believe that if they have a meeting in 2 minutes, they log on, click the link and go in the meeting. And life doesn't always work that way because you'll have updates, there'll be some technical issues, and everybody would be scrambling to, compensate for the lack of time. All right, best practices. Test audio. Mute when not speaking. Use good lighting. Minimize background noise. Even though the application has a built-in noise suppressant, sometimes, depending on what's happening in your background, it might come through, especially if somebody is talking. General noise might be canceled, but if speech is in your background, the speech will come through because the AI that the platform enables picks up speech first. So please remember, so if you have somebody arguing in the background, it's going to capture you and the person arguing in the background. All right, a quiz. Anybody ready for this one? All right, what is the time limit for Zoom meetings on the free plan? Anybody? I hear somebody saying something. Yay! Correct. All right. What should you do before joining a Zoom meeting? Anybody? Which one? A, B, or C? Awesome. Okay. All right. How do you join a Zoom meeting? Correct. Oh my God, you guys are brilliant. All right. What is the best practice when you are not speaking during a Zoom meeting? Yes, you're correct. All right. Which button shares your screen? It's B, share screen. All right. All right.
Okay, seeing that there is no more questions, we'd like to say thank you to our presenter.
Bye.
Yes? Okay, so our next presenter is Ms. Ashley Maynard. She's an attorney at law with experience in civil and public law litigation, government advisory work, commercial transactions, and policy development. She currently serves as Crown Counsel at the Attorney General's office in St. Kitts Nevis, where she advises on several government ministries and departments, including the Ministry of Information, Communication, Technology, and Posts, the Inland Revenue Department, and the Ministry of Tourism. Her work includes litigation on behalf of public bodies such as the Police and Defense Force and the Probation and Child Welfare Board, as well as the review of commercial agreements relating to cybersecurity and data protection. She also has contributed to St. Kitts and Nevis's submission to the United Nations Universal Periodic Review and conducts legal training for government agencies. Prior to joining the Attorney General's chambers, Ashley practiced at Athena Chambers in Bridgetown, Barbados, where she gained experience in litigation, client advisory work, and legal drafting across a range of matters. Ashley holds an LLB from the University of the West Indies, Cave Hill campus, and earned the legal education certificate from the Hugh Wooden Law School. She is currently completing an LLM in public law at the University of the West Indies. Let's welcome Ms. Ashley Maynard.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here this afternoon with you to give you a synopsis of the legislation in St. Kitts and Nevis that governs data protection and any cyber crimes. So we're going a little back because we know earlier we would have had a discussion about phishing, using being hacked and stuff like that. So my session is just going to cover the legal remedies available if you unfortunately become a victim to any cyber attacks. So, is anyone aware of any legislation in St. Kitts that governs cyber crimes? Okay, I guess not. So, firstly, we have the Data Protection Act, the Data Protection Act 2018. But to preface this act has not been operationalized as yet. So even although it's been drafted and completed, it hasn't been operationalized by the minister. So I will just give a synopsis of the relevant sections and hopefully everybody understands, and if there are any questions, just ask. Okay, so the Data Protection Act, it protects personal data. So the Act defines personal data as information in respect of commercial transactions, which can directly or indirectly identify a person. So your personal data would include your name, your home address, your telephone number, your email address, your passport information, your medical information. And as you know, cyber criminals like to steal money. They like to impersonate people and commit fraud. So this act is in place to govern businesses and to govern the government as well. Because you know, when you go to the hospital, they have your medical records. You go to the bank also has your information, all your personal information. So these organizations, they have a duty to protect your information. So whether it be ensuring they have proper hardware and software to protect your information from hackers, or simply employees just not having your file open for any and everybody to see your information because it is confidential. And if it goes to someone who's unauthorized, you never know what may happen. So Section 7 of the legislation, it states that organizations generally cannot process personal data without consent. So the law requires that your personal data must be processed for a lawful purpose, for a necessary reason, and in a way that is not excessive. So essentially, businesses or individuals who you have entrusted with your personal data are not allowed to carelessly share without your permission. So if you have, as I said before, your medical history at the hospital is not even to share that with another private doctor unless you give the hospital that permission. So if unfortunately something like this happens, you can make a complaint to the Information Commissioner, and this is under Section 25 of the Act. And this Information Commissioner can investigate situations where personal information is misused, data is improperly shared, organizations fail to protect personal information, or wherever else the Act is breached. And if your personal data is leaked, it could possibly cause you financial loss, emotional distress, and damage to your reputation. And the act also creates offenses. So a person or a company could be criminally liable if they misuse your personal data. So Section 35, it makes it an offense to willfully disclose personal information unlawfully, improperly collect personal information, improperly store personal information, or improperly dispose of that information. So for example, if you went to the bank and the bank teller is your neighbor, because it's a small society, and this bank teller happens to go and tell another neighbor, oh, well, she has XYZ on her account. I don't know how come she acts like she doesn't have money or something like that. That is improper use of your information for sure. So if anything like that occurs, there are penalties, and this is under Section 38. So an individual who commits an offense may face fines, imprisonment, or both. The penalties for a company or even like a government organization up to $250,000 or $500,000 if the matters in the high court. So this is just to show you that there is recourse if something happens, and that the law is serious when it comes to protecting your information. Okay, so the second piece of legislation, we have the Electronic Crimes Act. So this act protects people from harmful online behavior and cybercrime. So the act addresses unlawful communications, identity-related crimes, spam, and deceptive electronic messages. And it also talks about the police powers. And my colleague, I know we had a police officer here earlier, and he went through that with you guys. So unlawful communication. So under Section 13, it is an offense to knowingly use a computer system to send messages that are obscene, threatening, or menacing in character. Based on this definition, this also includes, if you know what cyberbullying is, so this protects cyberbullying. And it's not only young people who are bullied online, anybody of any age could be bullied as well. Right, so the law applies where the sender intends to make another person feel intimidated, harassed, threatened, or emotionally distressed. So I'm sure most of you have WhatsApp or Facebook. So if somebody repeatedly sends a message threatening to expose private photographs unless this money is paid, and with the use of AI, you could put your face on somebody else's body and it look like that's you naked in the photo. Yes. And then an individual could also repeatedly send abusive Facebook messages intending to frighten or humiliate. So under that section, a person can be fined up to AC $10,000 or imprisonment for up to 12 months or both. If the unlawful communication is published or shared with others, the penalties can increase to a fine of up to $15,000 or imprisonment for up to 2 years or both. And then you also have the choice to file a claim for defamation if somebody posts an untruth about you on social media. Section 16 mentions identity-related crimes. So if somebody had to get maybe your identification card, for example, it would have on your personal information, and they could use it to impersonate you and try to maybe even go to the bank, do things on your behalf. Because sometimes too, you can give somebody a letter to authorize. You will authorize them to do something on your behalf, and if that person is able to forge your signature, bring like your fake identification card that they replicated, they may now have access to your funds at the bank or something like that. And there's another thing, if you have family, somebody could ask, maybe, can you send me a picture of your ID or your passport by your page so that I can book this flight for you or whatever? If you send these things online and somebody had to hack your personal account, now they have the pictures of your bio page. They have all of this information. So be very cautious of taking photos of your personal documents and sending. Even if it's somebody you trust, you never know what may happen. So we're going to move on to section 17, which addresses spam and deceptive electronic messages. So the law prohibits knowingly sending misleading or deceptive bulk electronic messages. So if somebody impersonates your bank, as was discussed earlier, and sends you a link, please click this, or you need to change your password. If you repeatedly get these messages, this is a crime. You know, like the fake prize messages. You want a prize, click here to claim immediately. You click there, everything hacked, everything gone. So there are also penalties for that. A fine up to 50,000 EC, imprisonment for up to 5 years or both. So just a few safety practices. Do not click any suspicious links. Avoid sharing your passwords. And as was said earlier, remember to use strong passwords and always keep your devices updated. So you see, the law does protect these cybercrimes and these fraudulent activities. But what happens, or what the difficulty is sometimes, is that a lot of these attacks come from other countries, persons in other jurisdictions. So, for example, an attacker might be in India. They have different cybercrime laws. The police may need to require international cooperation. The electronic evidence may be stored overseas. Fake names are used, fake accounts. And in 5 minutes, your money could be halfway across the world. So I don't know how you'll be able to get it back. Yes, you can make the report, but understand that in these situations, prevention is way better than cure. And you have to be very, very vigilant. So what should you do if you or someone you know becomes a victim? Stop communication immediately. If it was from a number, block the WhatsApp number. You will contact your bank or whatever institution and seek legal advice if necessary. And sometimes they really do catch you off guard. For example, when I first moved to St. Kitts, I got a number from a Kittitian. It was a Kittitian phone number. And I answered it. I was like, okay, maybe I don't know what the reason, but I decided to answer it. And the person was like, hey, I got your number from this real estate group chat. And it was, in fact, in this real estate group chat. They were telling me you're going to have a Zoom meeting at some time to call out the code that comes up on my phone, and I'll be able to access this Zoom meeting. And that code, they were trying to log into my WhatsApp on another device, and they needed the code that was sent to my personal phone so they could log in. And I was just laying down in my bed, and I thought about it for a second. So imagine if I had sent that code, they had access to my WhatsApp, all of my shared photos in WhatsApp. And it's not even to say that, I'm not aware of these things, but sometimes it might catch you off guard. So it's not necessarily that you're not smart or you're not, it just happens. So if my mom, for example, if she gets any type of strange message, she would always send me a picture, and like she would know, but she would still check to make sure. So in conclusion, cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility. Protect yourself by staying informed and cautious, and personal information should always be treated carefully. So we have the pieces of legislation to assist. And if something does happen and you can't afford a lawyer, you can also seek legal aid. And they decide on a case-by-case basis what matters they're able to conduct. The office is in West Independence Square, and they operate from 8 to 4 on weekdays. So if you ever need any assistance in those areas or any other area, you can go to legal aid. So final message, think before you click, verify before you trust, and ask for help when something feels suspicious. So thank you. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Maynard, for your presentation. Let's give her a round of applause. Are there any questions for Ms. Maynard? St. Kitts and Nevis? Please use the mic so the other territories can hear your question or contribution.
So you saying about the AI picture stuff, you're saying that if someone take a face and put it on somebody's body, that's a cyberbullying or something?
Yeah, that is definitely that can be a cybercrime because one, it would it would be honestly defamatory as well because that's your body, that's your well no, it's not your body, but it would be perceived to be as your body and it will be your face. And then if they use that, okay, I have this picture of you, send me $5,000, that's a threat.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
The Data Protection Act that you described, you said it's not operational yet. How soon do you anticipate this? Because with all these the sections that you mentioned and the fines and all that, they will not be operative until it comes into effect.
Yes. That is something that the minister would have to do. Unfortunately, I don't have a time frame for you.
Thank you.
No problem. Any more questions?
Thank you very much.
There are no questions in Antigua and Grenada. So if there's no more questions in St. Kitts Nevis, I'd like to say thank you to Ms. Maynard once again and say thank you also for having me. This is where I end, and I now hand over to Mrs. Lewis, who will take you through the rest of the activity. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Courtney. We are winding down. We are almost at the end. We just have two other activities. So, yes. Two, the discussion and the closing remarks. Okay, so we went through a whole day. You would have heard a whole lot from several presenters on cybersecurity. So what we want to get from you, our seniors in St. Kitts and Nevis, Antigua and Barbuda, Grenada, is what next? We've gotten some feedback from you as you would have shared your comments after each presentation. But you have ministry representatives here, you have UNESCO, our original international partner. How can you as seniors support digital transformation? Or how do you see digital transformation benefiting the seniors? What would you like to see in your different countries?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, from Antigua and Barbuda, you can hear?
Yes, we are hearing you.
Okay, perfect. I am switching hats here. I am responding as a media personality. And with the wealth of information received today, I believe I can embark on a program on my show where I can address seniors and technology. I would have briefly touched on it at some point last year, but didn't go too in depth in it. But now realizing that it's an issue, and we need to be more mindful of how our seniors utilize technology. That's where I see this information going, so that I can reach a wider network here on Antigua and Barbuda. Thank you very much.
Okay. And one of the feedback that I would have received during the lunch break from the seniors here in St. Kitts and Nevis is that more seniors need to be exposed to this information. You know, when you're organizing activities, only a certain number of persons can actually come. So they would have been asking, you know, when other students have a chance to get this information. It's something that we can take on board as a recommendation. We had a question from St. Kitts and Nevis. What do we mean by digital transformation? Yeah. Okay, so when we say digital transformation, we're talking about technology in general. We know that everything is now is going digital. From going to the bank, as mentioned earlier, paying bills, even communicating with your family members. We no longer write letters. We don't even pick up the telephones unless we're gonna use WhatsApp calls. We go on Skype, we go on Zoom, we go on Facebook. So how can adults support this? And what do you need to see, or what do you want to see?
Well, this digital transformation, I've been hearing about it a very long time. And I also have already gathered some extended knowledge about this digital information. Digital information. We don't have money in the hand. Talk to me. I want to know.
You mean like everything will just be done by a card, you swipe and.
Whether with a card or your digital, you know, and the phone, where we're going to have money in the hand.
Well, let me ask you, what do you want? What would you like? Would you like to continue using money, or do you like swiping the card?
I continue using money if I know exactly what I got. You be swiping the card. The bank taking something. What the bank taking? We don't even know what the bank taking. Unless we know what's on our account, but still we don't know what the bank is taking. Because we feel like it's the supermarket taking the money. But then it's the bank taking also what is the bank taking? What percentage of the money is the bank taking?
So what I'm getting from you is that you need these entities or the system to be a bit more transparent, to give you more information, you know what exactly is happening, so that you're more comfortable with the process. Is that correct? You need more information, more transparency?
Yeah, need more information. But still, I'm still talking about the digital information and transformation. We won't be knowing what we have. You would not know. You go to the supermarket, and they tell you only $25. Only $25. And you can, and what we selling this week, it costs more than $25. But yet you got your thousands of dollars on the bank and an account, and you cannot get it to use it as you like. That is what digital transformation is all about.
Okay, so I have a question or maybe a comment. Earlier, sometime today, I can't recall who said it, but they would have said that information leads to empowerment. So you have concerns, you have issues with the bank taking out your money for their charges. So how can you as seniors address that? Because remember, you have rights, and most banks have customer service agents. So how can you, I'm hearing something over here.
Make inquiries in the bank. Make inquiries and very often sometimes they send an email about help people, but it's not.
We're gonna carry the microphone to the next speaker.
I'm just saying that we make inquiries. We go to the bank and we make inquiries. There's an information counter, you go and you make inquiries. The bank, all banks, they're not working for nothing. They have employees, they have to pay them. That's good. So there is, I mean, you don't know. And then even you had your book, you didn't even know what percentage or interest you were getting. The doctor and your book, and you had it in your book that, wait a minute, they would deposit X amount, but they don't tell you to get it 10% off, 5% off, maybe that's what you're talking about. But whatever you want clarification, you go to the bank and you ask them. And they have to tell you. They have to tell you.
Okay, we have another commenter.
It's very simple. You're not gonna beat the bank with this system. Knowledge is power, and we have to educate ourselves. You're not gonna beat the system.
But I would not say there's nothing you can do. Because these systems are still being developed. A lot of times when they're rolling out something, they do some test runs, they ask persons for their opinions, etc. And that, I think, is where we as the general public come in to give our feedback, our input. If something doesn't work for you, you go in, you tell them, you give them your recommendations.
You have an AGM, you have requirement. You have an AGM, you're gonna make you encourage to send a notice out to the members. You go and you make inquiries, or you just simply go to the bank, as I said, and it's not a matter of beating. Because you can't win everything in life. We last went to the bank, maybe about 2 weeks ago. I didn't need information. Yes, I went for information. Yes, I did. No, I contradicted to myself and I said I didn't need it because I went for a particular situation and I got the information I needed. I had to build a transaction, which I didn't think was right, but that's the way it's going now. Because I had an account and I want to close it. They say you can't close it unless you're dead. I had somebody else's name on the account. And my thing was, I had the first was my, I bought some this one. I bought some shares when my niece was a baby. And it was entrusted to her. First, it's an adult. So I figured it was time for me to get my name off the account and let the account, because the interest, what is it called now? The dividends, when dividends are paid, I opened an account, so dividends went directly to her account. I did not get dividends. It was for her. So she's now an adult, so I wanted my name off. Because now, if you don't, they have all these new different rules now. If you don't go in and pay, you have to go physically in the back to make sure you put on or withdraw monies. You have to physically go to the bank. So I tell him, my account is inactive. I said, can I be inactive? Because every year, annually, twice a year, this money goes on. I have not ever taken any money from the account. It was for the child. So now she's an adult because I had to be monitoring this account and it wasn't more than one account. Monitoring and going in and making sure they don't close up their account and their account become dormant. And abandoned. I don't want. They said dormant. Next thing you know, it's abandoned. I said, no, that's not good enough. And money going in. But they have different rules, so you have to make sure you get information, you keep informed as to what's going on. Current thing. What happened yesterday is not effective today. And you say you can't beat them. That's not the point. You can't show everything. They're not never getting like
So we have one more comment, and then I have a question for the group.
I think, as the gentleman across there said, knowledge is power.
What time?
But you know, if you people who look at sparking, nothing today, more than a big part of. And so in organizing stuff like this, you have to remember we are older people. And there's a kind of saturation point for the brain. And so while I found all of this helpful, I think that we need smaller doses. It's not that what we get add on, no. It's yes, take bites of this and explain it maybe in smaller groups so that some of us can fully understand. Having said that, I understand what my friend here is saying. But my feeling is, and I am just throwing it out, that more of us have to get to online banking. If you do online banking, then you go to your phone or where your mobile banking, you will see what is happening. I do online banking every day. I check. And when at one time I sent a bank mail to say that 6 days gone and I don't see my pension deposited yet. You have to, if you don't look after yourself, nobody will look after you. So man, next day the money was on you. Now recently, very recently, I have an arrangement to pay my property insurance every year. It is there in the bank every year. They're supposed to take it off and put it on. And then they're calling me from the insurance company as if I'm delinquent. This thing was due since last month. This is May. It's not paid. And well, this is it. You look after yourself. I tried calling the bank. I don't know how many of you will try calling anyway. If you know your party's extension, press 1. And I got so frustrated that I went and put again. It has to clear out with this thing. I see bank mail and you could see incoming message. So I wrote a message and I put urgent. And I explained what had happened, and I am being called as if I'm a delinquent customer. And I was sure that the bank and the insurance company have relations, that I shouldn't have to do this. I need this matter done, looked at promptly so that I do not appear to be paid. I did that about 10 o'clock at night. Because it started earlier, but I'm going so slowly, being a senior, that the time blocked me out. So I had to give it a while. I had to give it a while and I went back. This time I prepared it first, so I could put it in a little faster. And so the message went like that, telling me that. Next morning, Friday morning, I don't go and look just after 8, that's nothing. About 10, nothing. So before I get in trouble again, I keep checking first. And coming up to noon, there was a response. On the night, it was urgent, with an apology and so on, and it was looked after. I'm only using that to show you that you have to take the initiative to look after yourself. And so all of this sounds difficult, maybe, but there are times you have to walk into the man and demand to see somebody. It's getting harder for us because we haven't been accustomed to that, but it's not going back. And if we don't move forward with it, it can leave us behind.
Okay, so thank you so much. So from this, I would have gotten that we need smaller bites of information, not everything all in one go, and probably smaller groups so there can be a bit more interaction, right? And also that there are some online apps or programs that may need to adjust their time frames to take into consideration the slower users amongst us. So thank you so much for your feedback. Before we close, is there anything from Antigua and Barbuda or Grenada? No? Okay. Okay, so we are at the end. So before I turn it over to the lady who will present the closing remarks, Miss Arita Phillip, I just want to thank all of you for your time, your attention, and your active participation today. We know it's been a lot, and we hope that it's been worthwhile. We'll now invite Miss Arita Phillip, Associate Program Specialist for Communication and Information at the UNESCO Regional Office for the Caribbean, to give us closing remarks.
Okay, thank you very much, Permanent Secretary Lewis, for that introduction. Today we have come to the end of a very productive day. We know that we have had a lot of very thought-provoking, enriching, informative discussions. And so I'm going to bring us to a close. It's been quite an impactful day. And so we would love to get to our homes. And so today I have the absolute honor of sharing a very brief, but of course important thank you to all our valued partners, presenters, and stakeholders who all contributed to making the Cybersecurity for Older Adults hybrid workshop a reality. Firstly, I wish to express appreciation to the Honorable Geoffrey Hanley, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Education, Youth Empowerment, Housing and Human Settlement, Ecclesiastical and Faith-Based Affairs, Social Development, Gender Affairs, Aging and Disabilities, for providing today's opening remarks. I express also special gratitude to Honorable Iselene Phillip, who is the head of the Aging and Disabilities Department, also within the government of St. Kitts and Nevis, to His Excellency David Doyle. Dr. Doyle is the permanent delegate for St. Kitts and Nevis to UNESCO. To our presenters in Grenada, Ms. Petal Rush, who is the permanent secretary with responsibility for the social development and gender affairs within Grenada's Ministry of Social and Community Development, Housing and Gender Affairs. To our presenter from Antigua and Barbuda, Mr. Reginald Murphy, Dr. Reginald Murphy, who is the Secretary General of the Antigua and Barbuda National Commission for UNESCO, to Mr. Simon Springett, the Resident Coordinator for Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean in the UN Resident Coordinator's Office, and of course, the UNESCO for at our regional director at UNESCO, Mr. Eric Fault, who provided opening remarks and opened our event earlier today. I also, of course, wish to acknowledge Ambassador Neris Dockery, who is the Secretary General of the St. Kitts and Nevis National Commission for UNESCO, for providing this morning's welcomes remarks. Ambassador Dockery is also a part of the planning and coordination team, and so she was wearing several hats today in addition to providing those welcome remarks, and we thank and appreciate her for her contributions. We also wish to acknowledge Mrs. Janelle Tafari Lewis, who is the permanent secretary within the Ministry of Aging, Disabilities, Youth, and Gender Affairs within the government of St. Kitts and Nevis, for so ably chairing and moderating today's session alongside Mr. Shakal Courtney, who is the Chief Social Development Officer within the Ministry of Social Development and Gender Affairs in the Ministry of Social and Community Development, Housing and Gender Affairs within the government of Grenada. Thank you both for being our Master of Ceremonies today and for so ably guiding us through a very productive session. Your presentation of our speakers and your engagement with panelists and audiences in your respective member states as well as online has made the session truly engaging. Before I move on to our presenters, I must also recognize our cultural performers who provided us with a treat of the culture of St. Kitts and Nevis. We truly enjoyed your contribution, so thank you very much for representing your people. To our presenters, Mr. Hal Johnson, who is the system analyst and cybersecurity expert, provided our presentation on cybersecurity for older adults from Antigua and Barbuda. Thank you for laying this important foundation for today's engagement. I also recognize the contributions of Sergeant Travis Henry, who is the head of the cybercrimes unit within the Royal St. Kitts and Nevis Police Force, within the government of St. Kitts, Ms. Sydney Walker, Crown Counsel within the Ministry of Legal Affairs, and Ms. Ashley Maynard, Crown Counsel within the Ministry of Justice and Legal Affairs in St. Kitts and Nevis. And just to make a note that Ms. Walker is a Crown Counsel within the Ministry of Legal Affairs for the government of Grenada. Thank you all for providing us with the legal foundation of today's workshop. We also recognize presenters Mrs. Kizzy Matthew Clarence, Dr. Tania Sanchez, for providing us with the digital health and the mental health management components of our presentation. I am sure one of the things that we will all leave today's engagement with is COCONUT, coconut. Okay, so thank you so much for that addition to our vocabulary and to that new approach to managing our cortisol. And for our final session facilitator, I want to thank my colleague, Ms. Natalie Holness, for her presentation on mastering the Zoom platform. And before, of course, I close, it would be remiss of me to not acknowledge the multi-country executive team, including the secretaries general from the various member states in Antigua and Barbuda, St. Kitts and Nevis, and Grenada, who have been working behind the scenes to ensure that today's event becomes a reality. I also want to acknowledge their administrative and technical teams, including persons in St. Kitts and Nevis and Antigua and Barbuda and Grenada, as well as the national focal points for the various member states, including Mr. Terry Benjamin from Antigua and Barbuda, Mr. Shakal Courtney from Grenada, and again, Ambassador Dockery, for your support in grounding the planning and coordination of this event. Special thanks is also given to Mr. Gary Stephen of the Government Information Services in Grenada and his team, and to our team here in Antigua and Barbuda, which includes Mr. Boyd and Noah. I also wish to acknowledge our sign language interpreters who helped to make today's session accessible not only for persons in the room in St. Kitts and Nevis, online in Antigua and Barbuda, and in Grenada, but also to the persons who will watch this recording in the future who will find that specific support valuable. Thank you for your participation. A sincere and profound thank you to our senior government officials, UN colleague, civil society organizations, educators, media, and most notably, our older adult participants, whether you are in the host country in St. Kitts and Nevis, if you joined us via satellite location in Grenada or Antigua and Barbuda. Thank you all so much for being active participants in today's engagement. We would not have been able to have a successful session without you. And so we thank you and we laud you for this participation and engagement. We hope, of course, that today's engagement will be a start of something that is very important in the media and information literacy landscape. And so we thank you for creating this very strong foundation and framework for our engagement. Of course, we would like to thank our caterers, our state media houses who also provided us with coverage. And we have to acknowledge the Caribbean Conference Center, the Radisson Resort, and of course, our caretakers in Antigua here at the Villa Polyclinic. Lastly, I wish to acknowledge my senior colleague, Dr. Paul Hector, who is a son of the soil to Nevis, and he is also the advisor to communication and information at the UNESCO Regional Office for the Caribbean, for his efforts to support the successful execution of this initiative. Together, Dr. Hector and I have done a wonderful job, if I can say so, in advancing the mission and vision of UNESCO to build peace in the minds and hearts of men and women. And so with these final words, I now call to a close the Cybersecurity for Older Adults hybrid workshop and wish all colleagues, partners, and participants online, in person in St. Kitts and Nevis, Grenada, and Antigua and Barbuda to have a pleasant remainder of day. Thank you all so much for your attention and wishing you a wonderful day ahead. Thank you and goodbye.